Welcome back, everyone. It's Lights, Camera, Action. It's Make Our World Your Runway. This is the weekly show that interviews the most fascinating individuals from the world of modeling, fashion, beauty, business, and even the entertainment industry. And today, we are definitely going to go into the business arena. But before I introduce my very special and wonderful guests, we have a few announcements, and we do want to make the sponsors that make this show so possible. And that is the Luxe Salon, Margaritaville at Sea, 100 Successful Women in Business, the Global Trade Chamber, and Vida Designs. So sponsors, once again, thank you so much for making this show possible. And we always want to remind our subscribers to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can view all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And I highly recommend our viewers to tune into Success Stories because this show features the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. From humble beginnings to successful entrepreneurs, these women will totally inspire you. And now, get ready for an exciting conference, speaker, and awards as the Global Trade Chamber and 100 Successful Women are going to come to a city near you. And the city that we're coming to you is going to be Miami, Florida. That's going to take place November 4th and 5th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Miami. This is a fabulous opportunity. It's time to shine a light on your achievements. You can nominate yourself for a special award, and at this event there's going to be networking, conferences, business expo, fashion show, and of course, Make Our World Your Runway will be going there live. Now this is a free show, but it's always a sellout, and the fact that it's not only going to be people from around the United States, but also coming in from around the world. So you need to sign up now, even if you just want to attend. So make sure you go to the website at www.100swb.com for all the information. Now also at this event, you can be a speaker and you can also be an exhibitor, but you must sign up now because I'm telling you, I have done several of these events. They sell out months in advance. So once again, please go to the website at www.100swb for all the information, and we will see you in Miami on November 4th and 5th. It's going to be amazing. You won't be sorry that you attend. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on to our show. We have a wonderful woman here today with us in the studio. She's a licensed financial professional with a mission to empower families through financial education and personalized guidance. She's based in South Florida, but she works with an experienced and professional team at a local independent firm that has been proudly serving the Miami community for over 7 years. So I'm going to take the opportunity now to introduce her, and she's going to tell you about all the fabulous work that she does. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Laila to Make Our World Your Runway. Welcome, Laila.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So you're in the financial arena, and as you say here, whether you're planning for the future or seeking clarity around your finances, your team can definitely provide the best advice.
Absolutely, absolutely. We take a holistic approach. So our mindset is making sure that there isn't a one-size-fits-all for anybody. We want to make sure that we understand who you are and what your values are, because we understand that your values is what dictates where your money goes, right? So if we have a potential client who tells us, hey, I don't want to work past 50, so maybe they have to do a different strategy than someone who's okay with working for forever because they love what they do.
Exactly.
And they might want to take a break every now and then, but they don't ever see themselves not working, right? So we want to make sure we understand what's important to you, what's your values, and then we can create a plan that makes sense for you and your family.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. You get some people that don't want to work past 50.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to work past 65, yet others don't care. Okay, you'll get some people that'll say, you know what, if I sat home every day, if I retire and I sat home and I just watched television, or I didn't have a hobby, what would I do? Yeah, they go crazy, and you don't want to get into Alzheimer's, so they think of life as an extended runway. Exactly. So they'll either keep working on the job that they have, or they'll leave that job and take a part-time job.
Exactly.
Okay, just to keep their mind going. All right. Now, if you have a hobby, that's not a problem. Some people are painters, some people get into exercise or whatever. But I find today the majority of the people do continue working at a later age.
They do, because I think for most people they feel a purpose when working, serving others, helping the community, being a part of something outside of themselves. So that's probably what I like best. I can't sit at home and do nothing or just take care of the house. I need to be outside communicating with people, building community around myself and my family. So I'm probably one of those who wouldn't stop working.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Okay. I've never stopped working. I've been working since I've been in high school, okay? And, it was amazing because I used to take summer jobs while I was in I never worked in the wintertime because I used to dedicate myself to my studies, all right? But in the summertime, I always found a job. And it was never a part-time job, it was a full-time job.
Right.
Okay, the minute I got out of school, the following week I didn't even take a vacation. I was working.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I mean, I worked in a factory, I worked in a dry cleaners, and then my junior year in high school, luckily enough for me, I got into an office, okay, and that's where I really built the secretarial skills. So it was great, but what I liked about it is that I got independence,
right.
Okay, and my mother was very proud of me because I was able to buy my books for school, I bought my own clothes, and I was able to save a little bit of money, okay? And I had an aunt of mine that used to say, okay, you can start a little bank account, but make sure you keep some of that money under the pillow, just because you never know for a rainy day. And she did teach me something. She says, when you go to the store and you get change, what do you do with it? And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean? She says, take the singles.
Okay.
Start an envelope and save those singles. She said, you get 10, that's $10 right there. The next 10, 20, 30, 40. And you'd be surprised how that adds up.
Right.
Every time I get to $100, that goes in the savings account or it goes somewhere. I've got 2 piggy banks at home, okay? The minute they fill up, I go exchange them, and there you go, you got extra money. So she had a way of teaching on how to get extra money. Okay?
Right, or save it.
Yeah, or save it. Yeah, she was a big proponent on that.
Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a big thing for our firm and our team is spreading financial literacy and making sure people who don't get that instruction from their parents, their mothers, their fathers, the people around them,
right.
They get it from a licensed professional and a licensed team who can help them along the way. And I'm so glad you said that you felt that you had independence when you were saving your money, you were able to buy your supplies because although we serve everybody, we do focus a little bit more on women because so many times women, in fact we have a book for women, How Money Works for Women. And
wow.
People ask us all the time, why for women? What's the distinction there? It's because women do go through some challenges that are specific to them. One, they take off for maternity leave.
Yes.
For a while there was a bit of a wage gap. Sometimes women live longer, statistically speaking. So
this is true.
If their spouse passes away, they now have to be the person who manages the finances for the home. And if they weren't involved in those conversations because they let their spouse do it, they might not know what to do once their spouse passes away. And then you're also grieving, right?
Yes.
Child care costs, if you're a single mother. And women tend to be a little more conservative when they're investing. They don't like taking big risk in the market. They want stability. They want to be safe. So we explain to them the options, and we find that educating them about the risk helps them to understand that it's not as scary as it may sound, right?
Right.
So we help with everybody. We have 2 books, How Money Works for the general population, women included, right? But this one speaks specifically to women and some of the challenges that they face specifically.
I like this one, the saying on there, stop being a sucker.
Right.
I love it, man. How Money Works and stop being a sucker. That's very true. And there's a lot of people out there that invest in things and all of a sudden it goes belly up, okay? And right now there's a lot of, the news has been warning about this. Not, of course, something that you do. You're a legitimate company. But there's a lot of prank calls, okay, that come around. And people will give up a credit card and invest in things like that. And you find out they went and they cleaned out your bank account.
That's true.
Okay.
Right.
I got a call last week. I must have scared this woman. She might be in the grave right now. She asked for me, and I never say yes. I'll just say, who's calling? all right? She said, this is Wells Fargo, and I knew that was not from Wells Fargo.
Right.
Well, that poor woman, I wouldn't want to be on the other end of the phone. I said, excuse me. I said, you're the biggest scam, I said, that I've heard today. I said, you don't work for Wells Fargo. I said, now I've got your number. I said, now I'm going to report you to Wells Fargo. Oh my God, I could hear that stuttering on the other side of the phone. Took down the number, called up Wells Fargo. My accounts were fine, but I gave them the phone number, and they said, I played that very smart, because these are people trying to call people up and get them to invest in things, or just get, what the scam is, oh, there was a $10,000 charge made in your account. No, it wasn't. And I'm a stickler. I call up every day. If I write out a bill, I mean, I'm usually right to the penny, but I'm a stickler. I'll call up every day just to see what my balance is, to make sure I've got the right amount.
Right.
Even if that check hasn't come down yet, or that bill hasn't come down.
Right.
So what you're doing is great, because people have to get with legitimate companies.
Right. Or have somebody to double check.
Yes.
An opportunity that they've been presented with. The newest scam, I think, is calling you or texting you about tolls or something similar to that. So it's always good to, especially if you're in a place of desperation and you need more income, or you need to purchase something in the future, you might be more gullible to opportunities that aren't prudent. So it's always good to have an advisor or have a team that you can call just to double check, hey, I was presented with this, or someone told me about this, what are your thoughts? And then they can do the research for you.
Yes.
And let you know that, hey, they're not a legitimate company, they haven't been thoroughly researched, they're not in the legitimate websites that say that these companies are accurate in what they're presenting to you. So it's always good to have someone in your corner that you can double check with.
Well, that's very true, because something like that happened to my husband and I about 1.5 years ago. I noticed when I got my bank statement, there was a Heritage Financial company that credited me $5. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, I don't deal with this company. So I went to the bank, and they said, do you write out a check, they said, to your insurance company? I have a life insurance company, and I pay it every 3 months. I said, I do. They were a little suspicious about that. Then I called a friend of mine that used to work for the bank, and he does financials now. He said, if I were you, I'd close out that account. He said, somebody's trying to get in there. And sure enough, the next day, Truist Bank caught it. They would not honor. And you know where it came from? This was funny. I've been dealing with New England Financial, which now is part of MetLife, life insurance. I've been dealing with them since 1993. Somebody in that organization copied I will not pay them by check anymore, I give them money order. Somebody in that company actually took my check and was trying to get money out of my account and went to work for another financial company.
Oh, wow.
The bank actually did catch it, So we closed that account. I ran right down to Social Security, gave them I said, we're changing bank accounts. They said, no problem. They said, but I always tell people, check your bank statement, because if you see something suspicious in there, get right into the branch. They'll take care of it. If you let it go, and this just happened to a friend of mine, even the FDIC, they can't help her. She lost all her money.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And you have to be, it's like about 1 year ago, people were playing that they were celebrities online, getting with people and asking for money. And a friend of mine got involved with that. And I said, why would you give that celebrity money? I said, they just did a movie. I said, you're not talking to the right person. You're talking to somebody. Oh, well, look at this picture. I said, yeah, anybody can send a picture. I said, and try to be someone else. So this is all good information, and these books are great, because you're right. You need somebody to call, and especially that there are a lot of scam calls out there today,
And some opportunities aren't necessarily scams. They just might not be the right service or product for you, right? There's some services out there, some products out there in the financial space that are legitimate, good products, but they might not fit the person, right? Or they might not fit the person at the time that they've been presented with it. This is something you will take a look at later on in life, or when you're earning more income, or when you have a family, when things make sense for you to look at different opportunities. So that's why it's a good idea to have a relationship with a legitimate company.
Yes.
And in person too. You know, we have two offices, one in Miami, Coral Gables, and one now at the Global Trade Chamber in Sunrise, Florida. So you can come in person and speak to someone and know that they have a legitimate storefront.
Right.
There's not all online. You get to meet them, you get to see them, you get to really talk one-on-one, knee to knee. So yeah, we do like that in-person aspect, just like the bank. It makes you feel safer knowing that you can walk into the bank right now, speak to a teller about your account, and they can present you with that information.
Exactly. And you know what's so funny, because my husband's a real stickler on this. He always says to me, even today, but when he worked in the telecommunications industry, and they used to get some checks when they'd sell these networks. Okay, you got the money, pay the bill. Don't keep piecemealing this thing. If you can pay the whole thing off, pay it, because now you know what you can work with, okay? To this day, he's still like that. And when I was talking about life insurance, many, many years ago, he took out a life insurance policy, but he took out one that has a cash value to it.
Oh, okay.
The policy has now paid itself. So every time I make a payment, it all goes into the cash value, okay? And when I was talking to the insurance company the other day, they said, oh, if you live to be 100 years old, we'll just pay you out. I said, can't you do that now? I said, I'm in my 70s. Oh no, you gotta make 100. I'm like, darn, okay. But we're even going to a seminar on Thursday, all about, it's kind of a morbid subject, but it's something you have to have, that if you leave this world, do you have everything paid for? Are your family gonna get anything? So that's all part of financials, okay?
It is. You know, a lot of people don't like speaking about life insurance, and it's just a small piece of your whole financial aspect. And there's so many options out there that you should be educated on, because some of those policies aren't for everyone.
No.
And it's best to speak to an advisor who can educate you on the differences between the two, and make sure that you understand, you know, what might be best for you today, or what might be something you can look at in the future. But you know, we do, and that's why we take a holistic approach, because everybody's right now talking about investing. That's a buzzword right now. I mean, investing has been around for a long time, and and there's no such thing as a get rich quick.
No, there isn't, unless you win the lottery, and even with that, that's not guaranteed.
Right, you know, there's no such thing as a get rich quick scheme, or investment that you're going to put in a little bit today, you're going to cash out tomorrow, you can quit your job. I mean, if there are, I don't know about it.
No, I don't know about it either. And my husband working in New York City, he was so close to Wall Street, the financial district. No, they would even tell you, over there's no get-rich-quick scheme, okay? Right,
but with consistent small amounts, even small amounts, consistently over time in the right areas, over time you could be an everyday millionaire. You can be someone who, has wealth that they can live off of, and have a work optional lifestyle, or leave some for their children or their parents, or a charity of theirs. Just with consistency, discipline, education, and a financial advisor in your corner, you can do some great things in this world here.
I've got an uncle like that. He played it right, okay? He was a former police officer, but he also worked in construction. This guy does nothing but buy homes. He bought a home in New Jersey, $1.2 million, paid cash for it.
Oh, wow.
Sold that house, bought a house up in Naples, another $1.2 million, bought that house cash. I'm trying to think, he just bought something else. But he made his money. He just kept investing and investing and investing. And every time he goes to buy a home, he sells it for either what he bought for it or more, takes that money, buys it. He's never got an overhead. And people say to me, well, how can he do that? I said, I hate to tell you, that's a great way to live. I said, because he's always invested his money. He never threw his money away. He wasn't one of these people, and he could do it, to go on a big lavish vacation or something like that. He always invested his money. And I said, boy, you want to learn from a person? That's the guy.
Right, yeah. If you budget for some of the luxuries or the niceties in life, then you can enjoy it guilt-free. And if you're disciplined enough to put this amount away for your future, then it wouldn't feel like you're trading you know, your goals of being successful or wealthy
Right.
in the future, for, you know, living a way that you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor too. You can do both.
You can do both, exactly. Well, I'll give you an example. My husband's like that. He needed to buy socks last week. And I said to him, I said, well, look at this. This is the socks you like. I said, that nice material. Okay. How many socks are there? I said, oh, there's 6 pair. Yeah. He says, guess what? So I'm not paying $32 for 6 pair. I said, but these are one you like. He says, look at this. Went over to the other side. He said, I'm going to buy the JCPenney brand. I said, why are you going to do that? I said, they may not last. He said, yeah, 32 pairs of socks for the same thing, he says, that I'm paying over there. That's how he is. I said, well, wait a minute. They may not last. He says, Angela, anybody going to see my socks? No, I guess not. He said, that's the point I'm trying to make. He said, why am I going to pay for 6 socks when I get 32 socks for? He said, and I'm only wearing them to work. He said, when I put a tuxedo on, he said, I happen to have my good socks. I'm wearing these to work. I'm being around. He said, I said, oh, I get
like
it.
that.
I said, Mr. Frugal. He said, well, he said, that's the way you should be. He said, you know,
Well, they're not like that. They'll keep socks, shirts, undergarments for like forever with 2 holes in it.
Oh, he won't keep the holes. But like he said to me,
I
he
know
said,
people who would.
yeah, he said to me, he said, I'm going to spend that just because you like the material. He said, well, look at what I'm getting over here. And he says, it's still a good brand. He said, it may just not be the brand that you're looking at. I was looking at Adidas. He said to me, you're paying for the name.
That's true.
He said, you're paying for the name. He said, now, he needed to buy some dress shirts. There was one dress shirt I liked. He said, you want, I said, but there's 50% off. He says, I don't care. Go over there. He says, I can get 2 for the price of 1. I said, and that was Jay Farrar. He said, look at this. Buy 1, get the other 1 free. He said, you want me to go over there and spend $90 on that shirt with 50% off it?
Sounds like my dad.
I swear to God. And he's to me, he says, how do you think people keep their money? This is what you do.
Saving money on the socks.
On the socks, the shirts. But he's always been that way, okay? For a man that in New York City at one time and made a phenomenal salary, he always was that way. And I guess that's why at one point he owned 7 homes, always bought Lincoln Continentals because he knew how to budget his money.
Right.
Okay? And he has gotten me into that as well too, okay?
Yeah, I think, you know, for him, the value was more, his clothes maybe didn't matter as much. He was more interested in the properties he owned.
Exactly.
Or the cars he would drive. So,
Yep.
yeah, if you budget and that's what goes back to what I was saying. If you understand what your values are, then it's easier to understand what aren't your values, right? So maybe clothes isn't your thing, so why splurge on that?
Right,
If you know, having properties that you can pass on or properties that you can own and sell and do what you please with them are more, more your value, then hey, that's what he spent his money on.
Right. Well, I got to get this in. I know we only got 5 minutes, but I'm going to get this little tidbit in. And this is whether you like the guy or not, and it's not political. President Trump once said that. When he was working in construction, he was building the Trump's Tower. He was asked on an interview. He said, "Why'd you go to Cy Sims to buy your suits with all your money?" He says, "I'm on a construction site." He said, "I'm going to spend it." He said, "I take my jackets off, I throw them here, I throw them there." He said, "I'm going to go spend $1,000." He says, "For a suit that I'm on a construction site." He said, "Well, I have my good clothes." He said, "When I really go out." He said, "But I'm on a construction site. What do I need to?" He said, "I still look presentable, still got a suit on." So, in a way, okay, you'd be surprised how even people in that genre will still think frugal, okay? So, you brought up a lot of great ideas, and you are absolutely amazing.
Thank
okay?
you, Angela. I appreciate
For
you
someone
saying
your age, you're in the right arena, okay? I know you can advise people, okay? And I think you are going to be the next superstar, okay? There is someone I know that I'm meeting tomorrow night that I'm going to tell them all about you, and I'm going to connect you because I think you could be the next Warren Buffett or somebody.
Oh, well, from your mouth to God's ears.
No, you're absolutely fantastic, and I'm so glad that you came on the show, because a lot of people today need this, okay? And if there was an emergency right now, I even read a lot of people couldn't even do a $400 emergency.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, especially, as the economy is, inflation is getting high. The dollar isn't stretching as much as it used to now.
No, it's not.
I think it's more important than ever for people to have an emergency fund. God forbid something happens, that they're able to take care of, that emergency without feeling like they have to, rob from Peter to pay Paul, right?
Exactly.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being here.
Oh my God, it's been an absolute pleasure. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This is good information. I hope all my listeners really take it to heart, and you can definitely go to her website. It's wealthwave.com, and I think it's LAILAEL.
Yes,
to learn more, and we're gonna put that on the show. But she's gonna be a great superstar, somebody very young, but she's really got the right ingredients. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Make Our World Your Runway. And every week we're gonna bring you an exciting guest, and definitely make sure that you have a lot of information for your lifestyle. So we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.